everybody, I'm Julie Matheny. I am a speech language pathologist and an IBCLC lactation consultant, and I know a lot of people have questions about breast pumps, so I want to go through two of my favorite pumps out there, favorite for different reasons, and give you a little orientation to these breast pumps. So the first is the Spectra. Spectra, if you follow me for a while, you know is my favorite breast pump out there. I just feel like this is a workhorse of a primary pump, meaning most people respond really well to this pump. So I want to do just a little tutorial on the Spectra and then compare it to another breast pump out there, the Motif Luna. So when you're working with a breast pump, lots of things to talk about the breast pump, right? So let's talk about the pieces and parts first. This is the actual pump, right? It has an outlet for a charging cord where you can charge it or plug it into the wall. The Spectra Blue is battery operated. So the Spectra S1 Blue pump is battery operated, meaning you can unplug it from the wall, walk around and pump with this bad boy. The Spectra S2, which is pink, needs plugged in, pink for plug. So that one you have to always be sitting and have it plugged in. When you are pumping on these pumps, you will have, for the Spectra, now this is for my Luna, but the same pieces apply. You're going to have the tubing that plug into the pump. On the Spectra, it's going to have this membrane, which actually is part of generating your suction, and it goes onto this spoken wheel piece. This is what's going to create the vacuum. Now, this piece being separate from this makes it a closed system, meaning when you pump, your breast milk can never get into this tubing to then get sucked into the pump. So the Spectra is considered a closed system pump where your milk can't get into your pump. This is obviously the bottle where your milk collects. These are membranes. There are also white triangle pieces called duckbills. I prefer the duckbills to these. These are the membranes. These membranes do come apart for cleaning. This is also essential for generating suction. So if you turn a pump on and you're not getting suction, make sure that this white membrane is intact and correctly installed. It comes apart for cleaning. And it goes into here, which this is the flange. This whole piece on the Spectra is the flange. Now, one thing to note when you're using these membranes, these are common in some of the old Medela pumps. These do actually matter which direction you have them. When you are pumping, you want to make sure that this white membrane points inside or outside and not front to back. It does change how your vacuum the negative pressure vacuum is created by the pump. So when you're pumping, this membrane needs to go in or out, but not front to back. Oh, and that's my little helper back there. You can see my little, she's dancing to her own music. I got my helper in the background. So this actually does matter, the orientation. So I have mine set so that it points in. You don't want front to back. And then this bottle gets connected here, okay? Then the tube will get plugged into the front of the pump. Now with some of these pumps, I have two tube holes. This one is blocked. For some pumps, you have to have both tubes connected or the hole blocked in order to get suction. So this pump will suck through both tubes at the same time. So if you were to have this open with no tube in it, you won't get any suction on the pump. So you either need to have the second tube and pump both breasts at the same time, or you need to take that plug and plug it, or you won't get suction. Okay, so those are all the pieces and parts. I would now be ready to pump. Let's look at the actual settings. When you turn this pump on, this pump happens to start in the expression mode. The expression is going to move your milk. Unfortunately, you don't want to start on this setting. You actually, on the Spectra, want to hit this wave button and start on what's called the stimulation mode. The stimulation mode is the 70 cycle. It's a fast sucking motion that a baby would do to trigger your body to let down or release your milk. So when you're using the Spectra, when you turn it on, you want to hit that wave button so that you start in the 70 or the stimulate cycle and pump on this cycle for about 1 to 2 minutes until you start to see your milk flow. Now, this has the speed, which is your cycle, and the vacuum, which is the strength. Please do not suck your brains out of your nipples. You do not need to have this cranked all the way to the top. Okay, if you have to crank this all the way to the top to see your nipples move or milk come out, you're using the wrong size flange, which we'll talk about in a minute. Normally, you want to have this suction comfortable, 3, maybe level 4. Okay, if you have it cranked all the way up, usually you're using too large of a flange. Now, once your milk lets down or is starting to flow, you'll then want to switch it over to this expression mode. Now, you can change the cycle. That's how fast it cycles. This is trying to mimic how your baby sucks from the breast. So normally a newborn, when you're bumping and moving colostrum, they suck slower because they're smaller babies, right? And as the baby ages, they tend to suck faster. This is not one size fits all. This is the unique variability of your body. Some people need a really fast cycle and some people need a slower cycle. Again, do not crank this all the way to the top, okay? If you have this all the way to the top, most likely you're pumping on a flange that's too big. Now, some people do like to have a stronger suck cycle, a faster cycle with a stronger suction, but please, more is not better. Do not feel like you have to suck your nipples off of your breasts using your breast pump. You really want to keep this suction very comfortable so that you're not doing pain and damage to your body while pumping. Okay, so that's the Spectra. In a given pump, you actually want to go back and forth between these two modes, the stimulate or the letdown and the expression modes, several times, 2 to 4 times in a 15 to 20 minute pump session. So when your milk starts to slow, you hit that wave button again to go back into the stimulation mode. So you're doing usually 1 to 2 minutes on the 70 cycle and anywhere from 4 to 6 minutes on the expression mode. Okay, so 1 to 2 on the 70 cycle, 4 to 6 on that expression mode. Okay, so that's how to use the Spectra. Now let's talk about the difference between the Spectra then and the Luna. The Motif Luna I like to call the little sister to the Spectra. So the Spectra will cycle at 70 cycles per minute on the stimulate. And then when you're in the expression, it can go as fast as 54 or as slow as 38. The Luna is the little sister. The Luna, when you turn this pump on and you put it to the stimulate mode, is 60. So it will cycle slower for the Luna than the Spectra. And when you then put it into your expression modes, again, the lowest is going to be the 30. So this one cycles much slower than the Spectra. And the maximum it will cycle is 46. So I consider this the little sister to the Spectra because all of the cycles are much slower. This pump, again, the Spectra is my favorite for the majority of people. I find most people tend to stimulate and move milk really well to that Spectra. The Motif Luna is really for those with sensitive nipples that can trigger a letdown to much gentler suction. This one cycles slower, and most people tend to find that it vacuums, that suction is gentler. So if your nipples are super sensitive, this pump will do really well for you. I have found that this is not the pump I recommend for most people because it is too gentle and cycles too slow for a lot of people to really stimulate well to. This again though is great for people who are like, oh, I have really sensitive nipples. I don't really like my nipples touched. A breeze blows over them and I'm sensitive, or I listen to my baby cry and my milk releases. So if you tried the Spectra and were like, that is way too strong, I feel like it's sucking my nipples off, the Luna is another great option. So same concept with the Luna. When you turn this pump on, you actually want to start in that 60 cycle, the stimulation mode, until you start to see your milk flow. And then you're going to hit that expression, that button again, so that it cycles slower. and then you're using these cycle speeds here to actually move your milk. And again, going back and forth between the stimulate and the let down modes a couple times in your 15 to 20 minute pump cycle. Other key feature, regardless of the pump that you have, the flanges that come with your pump are not one size fits all. Do be mindful. I have found in my experience that very few people can actually pump with what comes in the box. There's lots of other flanges that are compatible with these pumps. You can get smaller sizes that look like these Spectra and Luna flanges. There's flanges like Pumpin' Pals, Lactech Baby Motion flanges, flange inserts. Idaho Jones makes silicone flanges. There's lots of options to really give you a much more comfortable, better fit and approach to your pumping journey. If you're having any difficulties with that fit, please make sure to reach out to me. I do virtual and in-person flange fits and consultations to make sure we have just the right size for you. So there is the brief, quick and dirty tutorial on how to use both the Spectra and the Motif Luna pumps. Now you know.